What's up, everybody? Welcome y'all to episode 2 of the Legacy Podcast. I'm back to the Legacy Podcast. What's going on, guys? I want to welcome y'all back to the Legacy Podcast. I know it's been a minute since I've been on here, but as y'all know, when I come back, I'm bringing y'all back with some heat. I want to introduce y'all to my next guest on the Legacy Podcast. He was born in Philly. As he currently resides in La Boca, Florida. He is doing his thing on the music scene. But I want to introduce y'all to Seyi Maxx.
What's good?
What's going on, my boy?
Again,
welcome to the podcast.
All transparency, because I like to do that, and we've done this a couple times, audience. We're on a mission right now, so please bear with me.
Hey, right.
But I told this Jess, said we're banging it out regardless. We're banging it out. So here we are. Done. Okay. But thank you for having me, bro. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Welcome to the Legacy family. But I say, I've been looking through your stuff and stuff, looking through your music. So the first thing that I want to ask you is, like, being a Nigerian artist, like, how do you incorporate your culture, like, into your music?
For starters, I have to. I think being who I am is kind of mandatory, because I won't speak for other cultures, but when at least you're Nigerian, that shows in some shape, way, or form, just regardless. Actually, well, keep it rolling. Give me 1 second. Let me Can you hear me in the earbuds?
It cut off for a second.
Probably can. Keep it rolling.
Okay, I got you.
Auto is what it's called.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So again, being Nigerian, there are a couple things that are kind of standards and practices. One is your name.
Right.
So with that kind of name, you can't necessarily. Hi, good morning. Okay. You can't necessarily shy away from it. Me, on the other hand, regardless, I'm proud of my culture. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of where I'm from. And then from the name itself, I can't just sit here and kind of ignore it, So I would incorporate it through, major way is the slang. So what we speak is something called pidgin. It's Pidgin.
Okay.
It's Niger slang. So if you know anything like patois or I guess like the Americana slang, the normal, what's good, bro, all that stuff. We have that version, but we have, the Niger version. So, if you've heard me, which you have in a couple songs, I'll be like Wahala or Jeje and all these things, or Kukuru. You're wondering, like, what's this guy even saying? I promise you, it's all English. It makes sense to us, but it may not make sense to you. But I incorporate it with the slang. Sometimes I'd include a couple instruments in the track. By the time the track is finished, I won't even send it to the engineer. Just do it as like a final cut thing when it comes to editing and all that. The third thing is it would be the beat itself or the song. I think recently I've recorded more of Afro beats more than anything else lately. Yeah.
Okay.
Lately, I think as of late, I think Spotify kind of put me onto that. But it's been interesting. It's been very, very interesting. So it's either either or, but it's either the slang, the instruments, or it'd be the beat itself. But either way, I can never just sit there as I'm recording and try to ignore it in some way, shape, or form. I'm going to bring it to the forefront. The whole Niger to the world they don't say it for no reason. So I'm just glad I get to do it at a high level.
Exactly.
I'm just glad I do that. So.
And Afrobeats is primarily used in Nigeria, isn't it? Like that's one of the genres of music that y'all use.
Yeah, Afro. Well, okay, so all right, so they crucify me for this all the time, but there's Afro beats, which is actual. I get, it's whatever it is. Then Afro beats with like plural. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. It could be Afro soul, Afro fuse. It's basically it is Afro beat, but with a twist of whatever other genre or style of music you're doing as well. So, for example, if there's R&B or there's a bit of not depression, but it's not so upbeat, it'd be Afro soul. Or, if it is upbeat and, up tempo, it'd be Afro pop. Or if
Okay.
it's simply just a mix of the two, it's Afro fusion. Again, I could be wrong. I'm sure my people will crucify me when the time comes, but you never mix the two. I think that's for sure. Afrobeat will be strictly from the instruments to the language to the final verses to even the beat switches in the song. That's purely Afrobeat. Anything else would be Afrobeats. I would say I mostly stand in Afrobeats, but I can differentiate between the two.
Okay. So going on from that, like, what would you probably say would be some of your like, even your earliest musical influence, even your earliest musical influences to what you're doing now?
Um, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Run that question by me one more
Oh,
time.
like your earlier, your musical influence, even from like once you started, whatever got you into music, or like to currently even what you like doing now, your
Um,
current musical influences.
I always like talking about this because it's always one or the other. Um, it's funny when I was in Niger, it was not only a different time, but I had a different perspective on music
Okay.
itself. I think by the time I was getting into it, around 2015, 16, 17, I didn't necessarily even think of it going as a career. Now, the only reason why I bring that up is that affected who I was listening to and who actually affected me music wise as I was making music. Um, but from the earliest works, I would say Rick Ross,
Okay.
Future, Wizkid, Burner, Rich Homie Quan. I think, as I even mentioned before. Um, but I would say Rick Ross was first.
Okay.
Only he's, I mean, him, Wheezy, Snoop. I mean, those have always been the greats. Trust me,
Right.
those guys were ever so prominent in Nigeria itself.
Right.
Even when we weren't allowed to listen to the music, we just find somewhere we bootleg. Well, give me 1 second, bro. Just the one
Oh, you
second.
good, man?
Um, okay. Um, but Rich, I think in terms of hip hop, Rich Homie Quan would have been the official first trap I'd actually heard and understood, and it was that song Flex. Now, again, the song was, I mean, I guess as I was young, I didn't even understand the lyrics, but it was a simple fact that he was boisterous, he was confident in what he was saying. You get that with Afrobeat anyway, but there was just some flavor to it that was infectious. So as I continued to listen, strangely, I had morphed from that all the way to someone like Travis Scott. There was even one time, I think it was either a band or a person I was listening to called Travis McCoy. Um, and like I mentioned previously, Wizkid and Burna, you can't get away from those two. Those are
Right.
two or three of the African giants. Um, you just can't. It's kind of like a taboo almost. You have to know those
Right.
guys. You at least have to know each song. You at least have to be, aware of what's going on. So early influences, in the grand scheme of things, Rick Ross for sure, Travis, Future, he's had a presence for the longest time.
Right.
And then of course the Afro Giants. Now I think a couple that would involve, I think with family wise, I think either someone in my family knew them or whatnot was Tiwa Savage. There was a, gosh, if I run, basically Maven, like Don Jazzy, all that. Um, the reason why it's taking me just a bit of time to even
Right.
recollect is, like I said, my perspective always changes, especially when it
Exactly.
comes to music. So my influences will change as well. So
Especially
today
like
it's
from
a
once
whole,
you
it's a,
started to like now.
of
Mm.
course,
Mm.
of course, but the earliest influences
Right.
were definitely those.
Right.
Definitely.
So with you being in the music game, I seen you saying you got into it around 2015. As a like, what probably be the best advice that you received as an artist, or like an advice that you would give like to an upcoming artist?
So I actually received that advice from my mother, which is stay humble.
Right.
I'm sure that there are many other better terms, fully define my point, but one thing my mom always made sure was, first of all, the music has to stay clean. I think regardless, the
Right.
music must stay clean. And
Mama
in
knows that.
turn, mama no vex. I
And
mean,
right.
no, no, none of that, none of that. And I saw what she was doing with that because
Mhm.
one, the industry is mad. Let me just put that as a statement out there to say now we're in an age where people get on you for your lyrics more than anything ever. So if you're just throwing around this, that, and the third with no context and da, they'll just think you're a no substance artist. And I think we have almost a whole industry like that. But stay humble. Always
Right.
remember your beginnings. Always remember where you came from. Always remember what you've been given. Even though I may not stick to it myself all the time. I mean, I'm human. You never ever forget your origins. Never. I think in anything, people always tell you to stick to your roots. Um, and that's for the simple being of if anything goes on in life, you always want to trace it back to where you started. Always,
Right.
whether it's good or bad. Um, so stay humble for sure,
Right.
for sure. Um, one advice I would give to emerging artists is be authentic, be genuine,
Right.
be you. Um,
You can't be nobody but yourself. And that's
you
I agree
can't
with
be
that.
nobody like yourself, bro. No one
Right.
can do you like you can.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with my garage. Let me go open it from the car.
Oh no, you good, man.
This is the daily life of this. This is a great interview, bro, because I'm not just sitting down. You're getting exactly what I do in the day.
Right.
This is fun. I like this. Be you. Like I said, nobody can do you like you ever can. So even if you grew up in the slums, or you grew up in a palace, or you had the best school, or you had the worst childhood experience, give that to the listeners. Something about being genuine and being consistent with it attracts people, in regardless of whatever you do. So, uh, you know, it, you have to. I think
Right.
you have to. People always tell you to be real, or they get on you for not quote unquote being real. People have many definitions of that nowadays.
Exactly.
If you're a trapper or if you're a gangster, they say, be real, don't snitch, avoid stay with the cheat code, street codes, and all the which I think is redundant. But either way, um, stay true to who you are because
Exactly.
there always comes a time and place where you have to answer for whatever you do. And if you can't answer, well, I mean, if you're in the land, they may kill you. If you're on the law, it may put you in jail for a long time, depending on what you do and say. So
Exactly.
again, it's always a long answer I do, but um, stay with what you came with. I think regardless of what you do, extremely important. Because trust
Exactly.
me, as you do interviews, as you go through your life, you're gonna realize you have a career. And your career will always have bumps in the road. It will always have ups and downs, but
Right.
there's always a beginning. There's always a start. Whether it's rugged, whether it's smooth, depends on what you want to portray. But either
Exactly. You gotta
way,
start somewhere.
you have to start somewhere. And if
Depending
you
on,
keep
yeah.
that consistency, people love that more than anything, regardless of what you do, because they'll see you stayed constant to what you know true, which again
Exactly.
speaks to being real. So that's in the grand scheme of things, that's kind of what I follow. There are a couple others, but
Right.
that's what I decided to follow.
You right about that because like another thing is it's one thing to start something, but if you're not consistent with it, you know what I mean, how are you gonna make the progress, that you're trying to make, in what you're doing. So
Absolutely.
I agree with that 100%, man. So going on from that one, so like what qualities you say would make a great artist?
Confidence have to be number one.
Confidence, yeah,
Confidence would be number
exactly.
one.
You heard about
Confidence
that, you
speaks
gotta
to
believe in yourself for anything.
you
That's the
have
main thing.
to
Exactly.
you have to you have to. I think it goes without saying, but image is everything is what people say. And the way I'll tie this in is this: when someone walks up to you, they sense one or two things. First of all, how you look, two, how you approach. Now, all that has to do with what you do, kind of currently feel. And I say that to say the confidence is what speaks amongst everything. It will show on your face, it will show on your body language, it will come up in at some point. So you, whatever you do, you, I would say find yourself. I would say, then the reason why I say that is if you know yourself, like you'll be confident in who you are. So confidence goes nowhere. Um, Two, an ability to, again, for lack of better terms, read the room. In most places you go to, for a show, podcast, an interview, or even just an appearance, you see all different types of people, all different types of cultures, all different types of mannerisms. As an artist, even just as a human being, you need to learn to know or to at least adapt to where you are. Because you don't want to be so out of place in the sense that you don't know, A to Z. It's okay to be in a foreign place that you don't know. It's another thing to be completely clueless. So at the very least, know what you're getting into. I think that will create a better experience for whatever you need to do in the future. For example, if I go to somewhere like Milwaukee, I don't know anything. I don't. How do you know about makeup here? But I think just by viewing the people uh, in that split second, how they act, how they interact, will give me a better picture of how I do perform with them. Um, the ability to read a room is very, very important. I would say that's number two. I think number three, I would have to give that to perseverance. I
Perseverance,
think
yeah.
you run into a lot of obstacles, you run into a lot of challenges, you run into a lot of troubles in life in general. As a musician, it's almost like 10 times because people are now, unfortunately, judging you based off of what you're doing. Someone's always gonna have something to say. Um, Whether it be something good, whether it be something bad, whether it be something controversial, someone always has something to say. And you need to learn, especially with music, is everything is subjective. And I say that to say you need to learn how to quote unquote take punch. Um, Regardless of what people say, regardless of how they act, regardless of how they move, you can't let that sway your decision making. Obviously, you can take criticism, but you can't just take any and all feedback and go and run with that and want to change your whole persona. You need to learn how to endure, some things, some moments, some situations. And in most cases, some people. Um, I think I think that almost stands out over anything because your ability to withstand a storm or to weather the storm is I think is what the saying is.
Right.
Speaks volumes. Again, it ties
Yeah.
into being able to read a room. If you can withstand whatever they throw at you, then you can just sit back 10 times, which
Right.
would show, especially in on stage or something like
Oh
that.
yeah.
So I think it's very essential. I think it's very essential.
You're over there like going through the storm and whatnot. It's like when you're back against the wall, you're really gonna see like who's gonna come out and who's gonna, stay in the situation, that they're in. Cause like that just shows like when you have a passion for something, no matter like what the obstacles that you may deal with, that's what you want to do. At the end of the day, you're gonna stay on it.
100%,
Yeah.
100%, 100%, 100%.
So next thing I gotta talk about, how do you feel about your latest release, Cruise Lines?
Hmm. Now, when you ask that, are you asking me of what of just the general feel or like of the feedback, or what are you asking? Because
Just what
I'll
you
give it
feel, man.
all.
How you feel about it? I mean, you the artist.
Um,
I heard it. I like
wh-
this. So I mean, I want to hear what your perspective is on it. Because it was a good
Thank
word.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I like it. I like it. I think these
Yeah.
are a trade secret I give the audiences. These are one of like the raw. I think not just emotions, but the raw audios that you get from me as an artist. I think I'll do this, in glimpses or depending on again, the way things go. I may just give it to you in total. But cruise lines, cruise line stems from a simple term my creative writing teacher taught me in my junior year of high school, which is stream of consciousness. There's a point in time where either with yourself or either or there's a state of mind or a state of thought that I think every person goes through sometimes where they're just either with themselves or they're just in a room alone. Well, yeah, with themselves. Um, you always have that moment in time where you're one with your thoughts, and you go off into like what they call daydreams and all that.
Right.
The way that ties into state of consciousness is whatever's going on in your head at that point in time, whether it's an action, it's a feeling, it's an emotion, it's regardless of whatever it is, put it down somewhere. I would use a journal, a phone, an agenda, with whatever. I would write it down. I would
Right.
honestly write it down. I give myself 60 seconds or 90 seconds, or I start with 60 seconds, and then depending on whatever I've written, I just keep going. I just write until whatever's in my head at that point in time is out. So essentially, like freestyling, when you put it down.
Exactly.
Um, and that was cruise lines. I think anyone could tell the first verse was not only completely different from the feel of the song, but it was more so like an insight because I started going in depth about a period of time where things weren't the best. I think word for word, this is a little Easter egg, was that situation really happened. I was getting ready for leg day. I think it was about 8, 9 o'clock at night. And then with my girlfriend at the time, we were going through some sort of a disagreement. Now at that point, I told myself any if there's any mistake, if we argue and one of us starts yelling, that's the end. I just that's where I cut it. And I tell myself this all the time. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't have done that. You can't hold someone accountable or responsible for one mistake. Everybody makes mistakes, and
Exactly. It's the
makes
only
us
thing
by
about if you
continuing.
learn from them, because like, at least you understand. At that time in your life, you made a mistake. But my thing is like, it's about how you come back from the mistake that you made. You know,
Well,
a
of
lot of people not even gonna do that. So
course. But again, that's the question. I like it because of those different elements, which combine
right,
into a 3-minute recording that apparently a couple people seem to like. Um, I had just at the time of this recording, I had just started to learn how to mix and master myself. So that was one of the songs that came from it. Production wise, I can always up myself. Um, I'm not gonna sit here like I'm Rick Rubin or like I'm some Metro Boomin or some master composer. I have work to do, but I think
right,
that creates to the overall beauty of the song because
right.
he gets this raw talent where it may not be 100%, but he's giving you 100% of what I want to throw out there. So I give the flavor, I give the bit of heartbreak. I also give some of the strut walk. I guess the talk your talk in a sense, from the chorus. I've been again with all humility, I can say, I am the ish. I
Right.
have those moments in time where I can confidently say that. So
Exactly. Let's say go back to that
instead of
confidence.
just yeah, instead of shying away from it, I decided to really give into it and say, okay, well, what can I spit? That first verse came first before anything in that song. Everything else that came after was just simply realizing, okay, you're not too bad, Shay. You're not at all. And I think you need to let people know that. There's a difference between being cocky and being confident. Like you just said, going back to it, it always speaks. It always speaks.
Mhm.
It always speaks. So again, overall I like it. I like it. Can I do better? 100%. But overall I like it. I like it. I think
Exactly.
it's a premonition for what's to come. It's a little bit to remind people that this boy is a rapper, do anything and everything. I think the overall goal is to be just an artist, which should be a jack of all trades. Singer, songwriter, engineer, be the whole superman, be the
Right.
whole what's that thing? Captain Marvel, I guess, because he has superpowers of almost everything. Either way, either way, either way.
It's gonna be good.
I,
It's good work,
I like
man.
it.
But first off, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for letting me have you on the podcast today. And I want to tell you guys that I got something special for you guys, a special snippet of his hit Cruise Line. It's gonna show up at the end of the video. And I got a little bit more stuff that he showed me, and I'm gonna include in there too. So y'all gonna see the work that this young brother's been doing. But like I say, Seyi Maxx, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. So I'm looking forward to future episodes.
Of course.
We got to link back up on here. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no, but listen, I think officially I'll say it. You and I were officially tight like you need me for anything and all that. I'll be here for the podcast. I'll be here for the brand. Because once upon a time again, going back to brand names, we'll come back to this moment and say this was a point in time where he didn't say no. So I always remember that. I think and the way for them to find me if they need to, it's Seyi Maxx on everything. So it's SEYIMAX. I know it sounds like the name is interesting.
And before we end this video, I want to give another special shout out to 2117 Vibes, my boy Blue. You had to get you up in there, boy. And that's a shout out to Andre. Thank you guys, help me make this thing happen. So this has been the Legacy Podcast. We are back, and I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.
What's up? Thank you, Legacy. Appreciate you.
City teaching me how to be a ball player as well. I know the home runs are quite swell, but ain't nothing beat the hotel. Okay, let me switch to a different topic. What you want me to talk about? Wait, I'm just kidding. I don't really care what you want. Shoot these bars up. Yeah, the one thing y'all keep forgetting is karma go like the lucky roundabout. So don't get too cocky, acting like Rocky before you get knocked